This video is sponsored by Trip.com.
Hello, you join me here at Guiseley Station on the Wharfdale line out of Leeds. Now the Wharfdale, Airedale and the Leeds to Doncaster lines all have one thing in common, and that is that they are served by the pretty funky Class 333 trains. Now the 333 trains are some of the weirdest trains I think in the whole country. Not only do they look weird on the outside, but in the inside they are just slightly different compared to most other trains in the UK. In today's video, I'm going to be exploring the history of the Class 333s. Going to be looking at why they're a bit weird inside and what they're like as a passenger to go on, and their future withdrawal. You can hear that announcement behind me. That is my train. I'm getting this 333 out of here at Guiseley to Shipley Station, where we'll talk about the history of the 333s. Why were they ordered? What were they ordered for? And the history up until the present day of these pretty funky units. So yeah, let's have a look at these 333s. Are they truly Britain's weirdest trains? Right then, welcome to Shipley Station. This is the major triangular junction of the Airedale and Wharfdale lines. Services from Bradford, services from Leeds, services from Ilkley and services from Skipton all converge here in one triangular junction. The station has 5 platforms, I believe, and it's one of just 2 triangular junction stations remaining in the UK, the other being Earlstown near Liverpool. So here we're going to have a little look at the history of the 333s. Now the 333s were constructed by CAF and Siemens in a joint venture for Northern Spirit between 2000 and 2003. They were ordered to replace the aging Class 308 electric multiple units for services on the Airedale and Wharfdale lines. The units are a rare example of 2 train manufacturers working together, with Siemens making the traction engines and CAF building the bodywork and the majority of other systems inside the train. The units would be capable of 100 miles an hour, although they only go up to 90 miles an hour on the Airedale and Wharfdale lines, and would have air conditioning and all other basic features of a modern new generation train. Now they would be very similar to the Class 332s introduced on the Heathrow Express line in 1998. Well, they are basically the same train made by the same manufacturers, with 16 3-carriage trains being ordered for the Airedale and Wharfdale lines. The units were ordered by Angel Trains in April of 1998 for just shy of £60 million, and although similar to the 322s, would have a greater acceleration of 0.9 metres per second due to the nature of the stop-start services that they would be running on. The first unit was delivered to Northern Spirit's Neville Hill Leeds depot in March of 2000, entering service on the 12th of January 2001. Originally they were 3 carriages, however in April 2000 the West Yorkshire Passenger Transport Executive later ordered 8 further carriages to increase half the units to 4 carriages at a cost of £3.4 million, and to generally increase capacity on the nearly overcrowded Airedale and Wharfdale lines, with the other 8 units expected to be extended to 4 carriages later on in the early 2000s. The first 8 sets were upgraded to 4 carriages by 2002. The funding for the rest of the 4 carriage upgrades had lapsed by 2007 though, with funding eventually coming from the South Yorkshire Passenger Transport Executive, despite at the time the trains never running in South Yorkshire. This was because Northern Spirit had indicated that they would have moved the 3-carriage Class 333s onto services between Leeds and Doncaster running through South Yorkshire to ensure that all services around Shipley were 4 carriages, and with the Class 321s being moved from Doncaster services to services on the Airedale line. Hence the 333s were all 4 carriages by the end of the decade, and the 321s and 322s remained on Leeds to Doncaster services.
And if you want to buy tickets on Leeds to Doncaster services, or any rail services in the UK that is, then you need to check out today's sponsor, Trip.com. If you're travelling by train in the UK or the EU, especially on core routes from Manchester or Birmingham to London, then Trip.com is genuinely one of the easiest websites and apps out there, and they're giving Van Manio viewers exclusive discounts. London to Manchester services can be pretty costly, up to £193 and averaging around £50. However, with Trip.com's split ticketing function, you can save on average around 19%, whilst also benefiting from 0 booking fees and a third off with a rail card as purchased through Trip.com. Trip.com are giving Van Manio viewers an extra 5% off tickets for new users, and 2% for existing users when using the code #UKRC5, which also includes 20% off a railcard for new users, and 10% off for existing users. So that's split ticketing, no booking fees, and up to 5% off on top of that, plus up to 20% off a railcard. So what are you waiting for? If you're travelling by train in the UK or EU, then you need to use Trip.com, link in the description below, and make sure to use code #UKRC5. Now where was I? Ah, yes, the Class 333s. Well, they operated without much of a hitch under Serco Abellio, until a new operator came along in 2017, Arriva Rail North. The 333s were returned to operations under Arriva, the company which first ordered the units.
Arriva Rail North, upon winning the franchise from Serco in December of 2015, announced the replacement of the 333s with a fleet of 3 carriage trains, although this never materialised due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the strippage of the franchise from Arriva. However, Arriva did manage to refurbish all units between December 2018 and April 2020 by Chrysler's Rail in nearby Holbeck, receiving a new interior seat maquette, new LED lighting, as well as a new livery, with the first refurbished unit venturing out on the 27th of February 2019. The refurbishment was deemed a success, with passengers reportedly commenting on the train that they were feeling new, bright and clean. From June 2022, Northern began improving the 333s further by installing new CCTV cameras, USB charging and new display screens with real-time information, with this work finishing by April of 2023. It was around this time that the units also ventured out on the Leeds to Doncaster service alongside the new 331s, replacing the 321s and 322s. The units won silver spanners in November of 2024. The spanner awards give trains different spanner colours depending on how reliable they are and on how well maintained they are, with the 333s receiving a silver spanner for their maintenance and reliability in their category. New generation EMUs, with the Class 387s with Go via Thameslink Railway taking the gold spanner. In 2025, Deutsche Bahn and ESG worked with Northern in upgrades to the passenger information systems, including new dot matrix screens being installed and new announcements being installed as well. Previously, the 333s had their own announcements not seen anywhere else on the network.
Welcome to the Skipton train. The next station is Saltaire.
But these were replaced in an overhaul of the whole system, which commenced in February of 2025, which I also believe Nick Badley made a video on, so I'll link that in the description below if you're interested in that. So that's the sort of brief history of the 333s. They're not the oldest of trains, so there's not an infinite amount to talk about, but they are pretty special in terms of the fact that they were made by 2 companies, in terms of the fact that they are now the only type of trains like it anywhere in the UK now the Heathrow Express units have been retired. But I have 4 minutes and 18 seconds remaining on my SD card because I've done a lot of other filming today, so I'm really running low and I don't have a spare because I left it at home. So I'm sort of going to have to stop filming here. Instead, I think I'm going to have to jump over to voiceover Van Manio. So hello voiceover Van Manio.
Yes, hello, you okay?
I'm doing good, thanks. I hope you are too.
Yeah, not too bad. Bit awkward this, no?
Well, it's a little awkward, but I talk to myself a lot anyway doing these videos, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll leave you in the safe hands of voiceover Van Manio to talk about the futures of the 333s and my overall opinions on these rather quirky units.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Shipley Van Manio. So yes, the 333s are strange, as well, there aren't too many trains like it. They were one of the earliest trains after the privatisation of British Rail, and one of the only examples of 2 manufacturers coming together to make a train. We've already discussed their history, so let's go and look at their replacements, and then my thoughts on why these trains are just so strange. As for the replacements, well, in August of 2023, Northern announced a procurement process for 450 new trains, including the replacement of all ex-British Rail units and the Class 333s. The units aren't expected to enter service until the mid-2030s, and a manufacturer has yet to be chosen, but they are going to be called the Class 382s. As we've already mentioned, the Class 332s with Heathrow Express were scrapped in 2020 and replaced by Class 387s. So the last of these Class 33X trains are the 333s with Northern. So then, what's actually so weird about them, I hear you ask? Well, to put it simply, quite a lot. Firstly, just look at the things. They get the nickname Fishbowl and, well, it's pretty simple and clear to see why. They're just strange trains, and I don't know if Siemens or CAF actually designed the look of them, but they're just weird and they give off very futuristic late 90s spaceship sort of look. Inside they are also weird, everything is just a bit different versus most modern trains today. The door button positions, the lack of opening door sounds, the weird halo in the ceiling where the aircon is, and we've already spoken about their previous announcements, which were only in the 333s, whilst they also sound somewhat strange too, in how boring they sound. You would expect a futuristic looking train to sound, well, futuristic, like the Jubilee Line trains, but no, they just sound incredibly generic, which is in stark contrast to the rest of the train. Do I like them? Well, they're not bad things. The 3x2 seating is a bit annoying, but apart from that, you can't really fault them for the short journeys that they undertake. However, if you want to ride on one of Britain's strangest and rarest trains, you don't have too long to do it. Overall then, the 333s are one of the weirdest trains currently operating in Britain, a microfleet, which are one of the only trains to be built in the immediate years following privatisation. They serve as a testament to what the future looked like back in the late 90s and early noughties, according to Siemens and CAF. Thank you very much for watching today's video, and thanks too to my sponsor, Trip.com. As always, special thanks to my YouTube and Patreon members, including first class members Aaron Barry, Crispin McKee, JBNEL, Phil Smith, and Tom Kennedy. Business owned members Andrew Bowen, Anthony James Moore, ARK, BK Gary, Connor Gregg, Clive's Travelling Trains, Craig Mitchell 43, Daniel Burford, Dave CDF, Henry Joy, Jay Teco, Gaggy Love, Lewis C21, Martin Thomas, NJTE, Ollie G, OVTUG Alex, Pete Denton, Real, SZWL, Train Life GB, Tom Kennedy, Welsh Train Enthusiast, Will Ho, and Zach Renfrey, as well as my standard premium and standard class members. You can become a member for as less than 99p per month and get your name on this list for as little as £2.99 a month, and also get access to all my videos early, as well as exclusive members only videos. And you also help to make videos like this one possible. Thank you. Once again, thanks for watching this video. Do check out my Twitter, Blue Sky and Discord server in the links in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.